All right.
Word.
Welcome, everybody, to Get Yours Presents the podcast. I'm your host, Uncle E. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share this platform with everybody that you know. We have a ton of good interviews as well as other content. For example, we will be sharing, a lot of our journey as far as the Get Yours Posse, upcoming events, and different things that we're going to be doing in the near future. So make sure you also check out getyoursporsse.com. That's Get Yours with a Z. And let everybody know what's happening around here. So today, I would love to welcome my guest, T.Eric Monroe. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on Get Yours podcast.
Thank you for taking the time. And before we get started, hopefully everything's okay with you health-wise, and everything's going well as far as coming out of this. Well, we're still kind of in the pandemic, but it seems like it's trying to get a little better.
Right.
So everything's okay?
I mean, things for me, things are extremely well. This past year, the whole 2020 into 2021 was a very interesting time for me personally. Business-wise, business grew. It allowed me a new appreciation and focus for the work that I captured, because I got to spend so much time working on the images and really looking through my files. And the first 3 volumes of Brand Unseen Moments of 90s hip hop had already come out, and then I was working towards the release of my fine art collection called Broaden Exposure. So this pandemic gave me a lot of internal time that was necessary to really continue the journey of where this is going, and sharing my work that's Rare and Unseen Moments of 90s hip hop, and so much more of my background between skateboarding and just all the different things being involved in, and now giving it back, but also sending it forward at the same time.
Cool. Well, I'm glad everything's working out. So let's. I would like to start here. I'm gonna read a couple of things. Right, we're gonna go back to 1988, and I just want to kind of create a little bit of the context of 1988. Word. So, for example, when it came to punk rock, now some of these bands that I might mention might not necessarily be from 1988. It could be a little bit before, but of course it helped shape the time. Right?
Dig.
Dead Kennedys, the Ramones, the Clash, the Sex Pistols, Gang of Four, Minutemen, and this last one I'm going to mention. If you can, I would like you to touch on this person, if you have any recollection or know anything about it. Patti Smith. Have you heard?
I know of the name Patti Smith. Everyone, not to say, there's a handful of people that are around me in terms of like the hip hop punk rock world that know her crew, but I've never met her. But the air of royalty that's or a matriarchic way that she's always spoken of, like I just haven't met her yet. But it's a matter of time, because New York was so big, but her name is just held with such reverence that I'm honored when I do bump into her.
That's why I just want to, because I see there's like when you go down a list of punk rock and bands and artists, her name stands out a lot. And what interests me is that I guess she's from the Lower East Side. So
yes,
okay, I'm going to do more research on her as well, and maybe one day we can both connect and maybe talk to her. Now,
absolutely, man.
That's on the punk rock scene. Besides the punk rock scene, we all know that around that time and before that, skateboarding was heavy. A lot of kids were doing that. And even though some people tried to sometimes separate the cultures, we know that it was very intertwined, right?
Absolutely.
We know that you had skateboarders that even did graffiti, and vice versa, right? So there was some graph artists that rode skateboards, punk rockers that might have also did some graffiti. And so that's part of that. Now, when it came to hip hop in 1988, that was a tremendous year.
Yeah.
Some of the artists that came out in 1988, you had Chub Rock, Schoolie D, Cold Crush Brothers. The Cold Crush Brothers even put something out then.
Wow.
K9 Posse, Super Lover C and Casanova Rudd, Mantronics, JVC Force from Long Island.
Yep.
MC Shy D.
Wow.
MC Cool Rock and MC Crash Chess. You had 3 Times Dope, Busy B Starsky, Lakim Shabazz, King T, Jungle Brothers, Slick Rick, MC Shan, Kid and Play, Ultramagnetic MCs, Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock, Marley Marl, Steady B, MC Light, Ice T, Easy E, Two Live Crew, Sir Mix-a-Lot, NWA, Salt and Pepper, Eric B. and Rakim, The Fat Boys, Public Enemy, Big Daddy Kane, Stetson Sonic, EPMD, Audio 2, Boogie Down Productions, Dougie Fresh and the Get Fresh Crew, Run DMC, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Biz Markie, Ghetto Boys, and I'm still leaving a bunch out. Now, just also.
Right.
Run DMC, Tougher Than Leather.
Right.
Huge. Boogie Down Productions, By All Means Necessary. EPMD, Strictly Business. Big Daddy Kane, Long Live the King. Public Enemy, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. Eric B. and Rakim, Follow the Leader.
Right.
NWA, Straight Outta Compton. And let's just leave it at that.
It's amazing. Like, you're going over this list.
88.
And both the punk, as you're going over the list, in my head, I'm listening to the music like whether it's the Ramones or the Clash or Eric B. and Rakim, the first time I heard Mantronics was at a skateboard contest in 1988. The first time I heard Two Live Crew was at a skateboard contest in 1988. The first time I heard Ice-T, I'll never forget, there was a woman organizer of the contest. She's an older, white woman. And this was Ice-T was one of her favorite rappers. And she blasted us at these skate contests. And it was just like the contrast of what you expect versus what was coming. And just the people who were the organizers of the skate competitions back in 1988, 1989, they were funneling in the sounds of our youth that we were so familiar with because we either saw it in skate videos or it was the first time we're listening to it. And then later on, we're going to hear it in skate videos, so it's the pure blend of all the cultures were right there, and you just kept getting introduced to better and better music through skateboarding.
Right. So that's, I wanted to just give an idea, right? This is what's happening in 1988, like how better. Now, the reason why I wanted to say all of that is because during all of that, in that mix, 1988 means something for T.Eric Monroe.
Right.
What does 1988 mean for you, sir?
It was the first time that two things happened. Well, it's the first time I got my first picture published in Thrasher magazine as a junior in high school. And it was a full color picture of this woman, Kathy Lando, Kathy Zadko. And she skated in the Brooklyn Banks contest. And she was the first woman to ever skate in the contest. And she got maybe second or third place. And she just held her own, and I took her picture, with the intent of like capturing the moment of like it was a woman that was skating in the contest. It was actually another woman that also skated but didn't place. And I recently found the picture, but she was just so happy and glowing and like she just held her own, and it was an encouragement, so being able to get that published, as a junior in high school, I was like, all right, cool. But what ended up happening also that same afternoon, I had my picture taken, which I didn't know existed up until probably February of this past year, 2021, when we were working with NJ Skate Shop to do the Vans Brick Collection sneaker. And as a part of the 3 sneaker collection, they did 2 t-shirts. One t-shirt, we involved my image of Redman with the pizza boxes because Redman, Brick City, Jersey. And then there was another picture that was shared as a t-shirt that was taken by Ali Asher's mother. Ali Asher is one of the original designers of Fat Farm. He does a lot of stuff with PF Flyers. He's just an amazing, amazing designer. He lived in Brooklyn at the time, so he came to the Brooklyn Banks contest in Manhattan. And his mother took a picture that same afternoon that I took a picture of Kathy Zadko. And you see me in the picture standing behind the wall next to the Brooklyn Banks, and I have my camera. And then there's also a secondary picture where I'm standing on the wall with my camera, but that was me in 1988. Someone caught me taking a picture, and that same afternoon I would catch someone else's picture. That would be, be my first picture in Thrasher magazine as a junior in high school in 88. But that was just, I didn't even know that picture existed of me,
right.
Just in the mix, doing what doing what I was there to do.
That's amazing. You are amongst the great list of what was taking place in 1988, right? Because from that point for you, then you end up becoming what you are today, right?
Yes.
So give us a little history as far as when you first picked up a camera prior to that, right? I mean, that was your first time that you ended up having something published in a magazine. But
yes.
At what point, what made you even pick up a camera? Like, what gave you that foresight to say, take pictures, and hopefully one day I will become a photographer or a well-known photographer?
Well, it started out very naturally with me just initially taking family pictures, during holidays or a fishing trip, or if I was in Boy Scouts and we want to, some kind of hike or something, just always just taking pictures, not to be the photographer, but just to capture moments with my friends that you can share. The training of the eye came from, it came from the style of how family albums were made. Let's say back in the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, they were a big part of the, the family storytelling, the family lineage, And when you look at a photo album, there's no captions in it. You just look at the picture and you know what's happening. So was my real training. Not that I studied photo album, but it was something instinctual about how to capture a picture and how it exists in a photo album, so it doesn't need subtitles. So with that said, as a young kid, just taking pictures every so often, at family events. And then when I got into skateboarding, taking my camera with me to skating related things, whether it was a demo, taking a few pictures, or my friends, my friends skating or the pros skating. It was always just out of fun, capturing. And that's what it was. And then at a certain point, the practice of capturing met with opportunity of something else, which was knowing that there's a whole world of professional music photography that I didn't know existed, but someone schooled me about it, and I followed up and followed through. And because I followed up and followed through and had a passion and drive to find what is this music industry, what is, the magazine industry, and being fortunate that I had a relationship with Thrasher since I was a junior in high school. Fast forward 4 years, when I understand about the music industry, they were the first ones to say, hey, yeah, we'll publish it. We'll give you a page, in the music section. If you shoot whatever you want to shoot, just write an article to go along with it, and we'll publish it as it comes in. So that gave me the accessibility, having Thrasher behind me, and also being independent, where I could seek out different interviews with or moments to photograph that that just were creative to me. And that's what got the ball rolling. Just trying to do it for self.
Okay. So now, 88, we talked about 88, but prior to that, at that time, there was no cell phones.
Right.
To come across a camera, I mean, you had to really know in your mind, I want a camera, and try to purchase a camera, right? Because they weren't that accessible. It was not like now that anybody can take pictures.
Right.
So, I mean, so you had that, something gave you that drive, to want to.
Yeah, I think it was just always there. It was natural. In terms of with my first camera, I started out my photography career with very, very basic camera equipment. I had a Canon AE1 program, which was all manual, everything. The program, I think, was like, if you turn one dial, the camera does all the guesswork for you, but doesn't teach you. So you had to instinctually know what you were doing with the dials, the aperture, the shutter speed, the flash speed, like just all the different mechanics and math that sort of go into capturing one frame on a roll of film, because you only had 36 frames in a roll of film. And even when you shot it, you didn't see it until either 3 hours later or 2 or 3 days later, and then from there, you were able to, try and shop it around, but it took you 3 days before you shot it. So even, they had more modern medium format cameras that gave you the Polaroid back. I didn't have the money of that. So I had to just work off gut, work off knowing, like really paying attention to light, skin tone, the interaction between people. You just had to slow all the way fuck down and just stay out of the moment and like observe what you're observing. Even if you're just telling someone to move left or right, it's only to get either light or you see a more storytelling moment, but just by someone just changing the shoulder positioning, and just staying out of it otherwise, so it's those natural things that you would do looking at your grandmother or your uncle or whoever's at the house at the time. And like, you see a moment, but you're like, okay, let me just turn the light on to open up the room a little bit. And then your uncle's going to crack a joke and he's about to crack a joke and you're like, pop, got no joke. You know what I mean? It's like a skating trick. Like, it's about to come. You got to stay out the way and like, whoop, the tray flip, you know what I mean? Something like that.
Right. So how often, if any, would you, let's say, go to an event or whatever it was, right, to capture something specific that you knew, this I'm going to try to get into a publication or something? You take the pictures, and then when you go and develop it, you're like, oh man, all the shots came out messed up. Like there's not that one shot that you can actually use. Did that ever happen?
Well, not a whole roll. Well, two examples come to mind. One is when I first got involved with the music industry or just the magazine industry as a whole, someone suggested reaching out to a photo stock agency. And I did, and I had just took pictures of Crisscross and DOS Effects in 1992. And I was trying to present my photographs of Crisscross and DOS Effects to this photo agency. So I got the film developed and the pictures were okay. Like some of them came out okay, but overall they weren't that great, you know, for the caliber of work that the stock agency was used to handling. So they said, we'll give you another chance. So another chance meant, you know, we'll let you shoot someone popular and we'll bring it back on Monday and we'll see what you got. So that weekend I ended up going to shoot Arrested Development. And then within the same weekend, I ended up shooting Gregory Hines. And I also shot Onyx and Michelle Degocello and DJ Maceo. And then I brought it all back to the stock agency on Monday after I got it developed. And the person there was just like, how in the heck did you do all this? I said, well, and I explained the timeline. I'm like, well, you set me up to shoot Arrested Development and I shot them plus shot them. But then I found a flyer for, Onyx was doing a showcase with Maceo the next day. So I went to the showcase with Maceo on them, but I got there too early. And across the street, Gregory Hines was doing Jelly's Last Jam. And I see him coming out the door, signing autographs, go up to him, ask if I could take his picture. And he's like, sure. So literally he leaves the crowd from the Broadway theater. We go down the block, lets me shoot a bunch of frames of him. We walk back, he goes back to finish. He's like, yo, introduce me to the stage manager. He's like, Eric's gonna come back with some pictures. A week and a half later, I came back with pictures. He was there and he bought some off me. So that was just one weekend of like, how do you grind through opportunities that are just in front of you, but you don't know they're about to be in front of you?
Sounds so New York.
That's what I'm saying. But that is how New York is, yo.
That sounds straight so up. New York, man. That's great. That's great. That's interesting. But now, like I said earlier, well, when we started, we talked about skateboarding and everything and how it's all intertwined. So we're probably going to jump a little bit back and forth between everything, right? Skateboarding, how did that come about? How did you start? What caught your interest in skateboarding? I mean, when I was a kid, I had a skateboard, but that was it. I wasn't, I wasn't that kid with, jumping and doing all the tricks or anything. But you actually are pretty instrumental in that world as well. Talk to me about that a little bit.
As a kid, my parents were always afraid of a skateboard because they were the mentality, oh, you're gonna break your neck, just all the naysayer-ish. By the time I get to high school, was I a sophomore or junior in high school? I think I might have been a sophomore. Wait, summer '87. So sophomore into junior year. So sophomore, a bunch of my friends that were naturally at my lunch table, if you would, they just got into skateboarding recently and they had magazines. And I was like, that looks fun. So I started just hanging out with them because we were friends already, but like to learn skateboard, like it just looked like fun. It was just something different that you really wanted to try. And like, so I just started skating with my friends after school on the jump ramps, like learning how to ollie, learn all the basic tricks. And just at one point, one of my same friends from lunch table got a flyer for an Eastern Skateboarding Association competition in New York City. So I ended up getting one of the flyers, asked my father if he could find out where this Brooklyn Banks place is in New York. He found out where it was. My parents actually drove me, to my first contest, probably late '87 or early '88. I forgot what year it was. But they drove me, South Street Seaport area, let me hang out, watch the contest, participate a little bit, and drove me back. And then my father showed me how to take the train, on the subway to get to the area where the Brooklyn Banks was. And that just got me skating. And once I saw how many Black and Latinos and Asians were skating in the city, it was game changing. Because it was like, you get called in 1987, 1988. I mean, you get called all kinds of names. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're trying to be white, you're trying to be this, just like, yo, whatever, man. Because, as soon as I take off, put the skateboard down, if I'm in the marching band playing the snare drum, I'm the baddest motherfucker because I can get down with 2 sticks in my hand. You know what I mean? Or if I'm playing football, I'm playing football and it's okay to be Black and play football. So it's not paying attention to whatever people are going to say what they want to say, because they're more fearful and within their fear, it's easier to join the gang of fear and make fun of someone else.
Right.
That's on y'all to do. I'm going to skate. I'm going to try this trick 100 times till I get it. That kind of determination and fun at the same time. Right.
But I also would say that type of mentality, which I believe that community of skaters, hip hoppers, punk rock bands, I believe that we all share that same mentality, because if not, we probably wouldn't have hip hop, for example, right? If we thought, oh, they keep telling us that's just noise, it's not going to be around, everybody
Yep.
would have stopped, right? Same thing with
Yeah.
skaters. I mean, look how huge the
It's in the
skate,
Olympics now, dog.
both, right? The skateboarding. Now we're gonna have breaking in the Olympics as well.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, so if they had that mentality of listening to what others are saying, we would never be where we are today, right?
Nah, that's it.
So
You got to be independent and just have fun with the community that's small enough to also support you, and you're supporting them at the same time. And even the competitions as such with skateboarding, it's not a competition like fighting me versus you. It's more about just cheering each other on. We're all in the same communal space of wanting to see some fun and amazing things happen in the afternoon. It's not about first to last place. It's about just getting out there and having fun and getting loose.
right, right. So talk to us a little bit about Shred for Life. Now,
wow.
Correct me if I'm wrong. There's Shred for Life, but then it's Shred for Mike. Is that the same?
Well, no, well, it's three different events. So okay. Shred for Life happened in, I think, 1995. Some of my friends ran the first one. Shred for Life 2, I ran. Okay. And then there was an event called Shred for Mike, which was for about Mike Cardona. So those are three. And I think Shred for Mike was in 1998, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
1998. Yeah, I think it was 1998 was Shred for Mike. Shred for Life 2 was in 1997. That's the one I ran.
Okay.
So what the event was, Shred for Life, it's I rented a convention center in central New Jersey in Edison, and then I got ramps inside the convention center, and we had almost an all-day skate jam inside the convention center where you paid, I think it was $20 to get in, and people just skated all afternoon and just had a really, really good time. We made a magazine to go with it that Chris Naracco wrote in and Mark Hardy designed along with Christina Forte. But you had every big name in skateboarding in the Northeast at that event in February of 1997. You had Huff, you had Harold, you had everyone that was on the Zero team. Mike Valley was there, Bam Margera was there, just Peter Beasy. I mean, you name a name in Northeast skateboarding, they were there that day. Like, it was, the day went by for me so fast that, thank God, people videotaped, like guys like R.B. O'Malley that got it onto 411 magazine. And then there's still more footage out there from that afternoon that every so often someone will send me a link to. But it was, for me, I ran that event because in my heart, I wanted to give back to the next generation a platform of competition for the new generation to grow into, because there was nothing there. Whereas for me and my generation, we had the Eastern Skateboarding Association, and then we also had the NSA, the National Skateboarding Association. So the ESA gave us in New York a platform or a place to go and compete and have fun and, just be around your friends. So even as I was 1987, 1988, 1989, I also helped in assisting, the directors of whether it's New York, New Jersey, just, whether it's tabulating scores or putting up banners or giving stuff away, just to be a part of the giving community back to kids. So when it was my turn to give back in 1997 to 1998, doing Shred for Life gave me a mailing list to everyone in the Northeast. And that's what it was about. So that way, when I started the United Skateboarding Association in 1989, I had a direct mailing list to everyone in the Northeast, or more relevant kids that were really bubbling in the Northeast. And then from there, I had a mailing list of all the skate shops in the Northeast to work against in terms of marketing and getting the word out about the events. So it was a street hustle.
Gotcha, man. So you're just born with that mentality. That's in you. Do me a favor, Harold Hunter.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about him.
Harold, I met Harold again back in 1988 because of the Eastern Skateboarding Association events at the Brooklyn Banks, where it brought everyone together. Harold was just, there's so many words I can use for him. Like, to give him accolades, you say he's like the mayor of New York. He's like the perfect blend of everything that is New York, between personality, skating, music, culture, knowing people, knowing the best spots, knowing this person that knows this person that knows the inside to this. Like, he was just the crossroads of everyone and everything. And he also made the outsider feel warm and at home, so me living where I do in Jersey and Harold living wherever you did in Brooklyn, it was just amazing that over the years, from skating in 88 to fast forward when, what do I want to go fast forward? When Echo purchased Zoo York and Harold was still part of Zoo York back then, and then watching his later career, and then watching, him the years in between when he wasn't skating, and I necessarily wasn't even doing photography or running skating events, but I was producing other events. But you still see each other on the street, and the love is always still there. But yeah, Harold was he just was like everyone's friend, and he was talented, and he just opened the door for so many minorities in skateboarding, because he was like he was holding the flag for blacks in skateboarding. Like, yeah, we know Javi, we know Jeff Pang, we know Peter, we know all these multicultural cats that were part of this UN of just dope fucking people, and they're still dope people. And it's just like you look back, like they just did the Streets Watch, or Beyond, whatever streets, about the come up of New York skate culture in New York City. Like, that was a parallel of my world. I wasn't there every day going to nightclubs. That wasn't a part of my scene. Like, I came, hung out with the dudes, but then I went home to Jersey, and it's interesting that they went on to the Stretch and Mobito show and so much of hip hop culture that became. Whereas when I went back home, I was more around sort of like a punk rock scene, if you would, like a mashup of just people. We had our own similar scene, and it just was different, but it was we're all driven by the same things. Like, cats down here were doing graffiti, or just straight up art, or doing this, doing that. It's the same cultural mix of people, and we're all here doing it, or have been doing it pre-internet. So when you look back at pictures, you're like, oh my God, but we just did it differently, and we had fun doing it in the moment, because we can take our times and not just make it about a selfie moment,
Right.
on social media.
Right. Now, you also mentioned Mark Echo just now.
Yes.
You did work with Mark Echo on some stuff, right?
Yes. 1996, I was working as a photo editor at the Source magazine, and at the same time, like, I literally had something in my gut just wasn't sitting right anymore, and I was having more fun when I would leave work for lunch and go to Supreme, which was around the corner when it was on Lafayette and Prince, and hang out with my skater friends that worked there, smoke a L, talk about skateboarding, bullshit. I was happy. And then I went back to work. Like, my happiness was around skating. So somewhere in the mix of it, the idea about doing a skateboard league for the next generation came through. And I was just like thinking about, like, well, it was done this way back in the day, but what if we did this? What if we did that? What if we did? And just like all these ideas started growing and growing and growing. So it took about a year and a half before I actually started the United Skateboarding Association, which became an amateur skateboard league that ran from 1998 to 2005. During that time and process, where I live at in Jersey, Echo Unlimited's office was like 20 minutes away from me. So dealing with New York hip hop culture and being a part of hip hop in Jersey, Mark and I met each other through a mutual friend who was doing some work for him. And then we just initially just stayed friends. And then he hired me to photograph a section of one of his old catalogs. So I did that, and we just stayed in touch. And then as I started working at the Source more and more, we'd cross paths even more as a result of it. And then moving forward to 1998, when I started the Amateur Skateboard League, actually in 1997, when I did Shred for Life 2, I reached out to Echo to donate product to, give away as raffle prizes, put stickers on the ramps. And so that started, got them a lot of exposure. 1998, when I did the Skateboarding League, I had them be a sponsor of the event by donating product every week to be given away as prizes and putting their stickers up. That's how our relationship into skateboarding began. Just pure guerrilla marketing of his brand, but also having his logo on all my postcards for all my different events. By 1999, when 1998 ended, once the first full year of skateboarding competition was over, I approached Echo because they were in a big building here in Jersey, not too many employees at the time. So I said, hey, can we do a partnership deal? I said, can I just get an office space downstairs, and I'll keep you as a presenting sponsors, and anytime you need help with anything in the office, just ask. And on the flip side, I said, any action sports related events that I can get you all involved in marketing wise, I'll do it. So I would get them involved in get them involved with amateur BMX, snowboarding, wakeboarding event, not wakeboarding initially, skateboarding, snowboarding, and surfing events. So I'd have, we'd go to events and like just give away Echo product, or we talk to the event organizer, hook them up with a box of Echo clothes and some banners, and boom, just send us pictures back. So that way I can show Echo and them where their stuff is actually going and get involved in action sports marketing like that. And that's where my relationship with Echo was started, was like just pure cross marketing opportunities.
Nice, man. You've had your hand in everything, man. You're like everywhere.
A couple things.
Yeah, no, but it's again, for me, it's amazing to me because everything you're saying and the way you're talking about it and the way one thing intertwines with something else, it's I get that vibe again from what New York was, right? Like,
yeah,
it just, It's what it was, man. It's I don't know how else to explain it. So it's for me, it's a kind of a nostalgic moment right now because
Right.
I'm picturing everything. I'm picturing the city. I'm picturing Lower East Side, the West Side, Soho, all the different events and everything, man. So it's great. It's great. So let's jump back to photography now.
Yeah.
You've Old Dirty Bastard, Nas, Guru. The list is humongous of the different artists. Lauryn Hill, Arrested Development. You have
De La.
De La.
Did you see you see the video I put up today of De La?
No, not yet. I've been focusing on.
Okay. I'll save a little bit of it, but I made a music video around De La Soul for the song "The Business" off of Stakes is High. That's all I'll say.
Okay. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about how it was when you took some of these photos, for example, of an Old Dirty Bastard who's no longer with us, Guru from Gangsta who's no longer with us. Did you have times where it was just strictly a business thing where you just went to take the photo shoot and that was that? You never saw these artists again? Did you develop a relationship with some of these artists? And if so, how was that?
It was half and half, meaning that, for example, when I photographed ODB in 1995, it was for a feature in the Source magazine. I had just gotten on as the photo editor for the Source in September of 95. And the first thing that came up was, Old Dirty Bastard for his feature. So I just took the assignment without even thinking. And my initial thing that I wanted to do with him was just shoot something, I wanted to do something safe. Shoot on a rooftop somewhere in the Lower East, somewhere in Manhattan. Like that's always, you can always get a shot out of that kind of a moment. And there was no visions of grandeur, like making him look like Oscar the Grouch or some bullshit of disrespect. So shooting him, like, again, we shot the day, we had great time, me being around him. Initially, we went up to Harlem because he wanted to get his beard trimmed up and like his edge up, and just being around him and not talking, just purely observing him the entire time. And then by the time he finishes getting trimmed up, and I didn't take a picture of him the whole time. He finally gets his smock off, and then goes in his pocket, takes out his glasses and puts the glasses on and sort of just sits back. And that was the shot that he had in his mind, for him to be immortalized, and then we left the barbershop and then we went back down to Lower East Side. And then initially we went across the street from where we shot. There used to be a metal artist junkyard, if you would, with all these metal sculptures or whatever. And me and Old Dirty looked at each other and looked at the junkyard across the street, and we literally ran across the street like little kids, like, I'm gonna climb before you kind of thing. And that jokiness came out, and like I still don't remember much of a conversation. It was more like just very quiet, like look, observe kind of thing. And I'm sure we must have talked a little bit, you know what I mean? And then after that, we ended up going across the street, shot stuff on the roof. And even in shooting him on the roof, like depending on where we were on the roof gave different characters that I saw in him. So for example, where he's in the patio chair and he's looking sideways, like that was one character look. When he's behind the wall, the understairs look with the one glasses where he's leaning into you, that was one side of his personality. And then like more subtle things where you have the more rich dark blue background with the World Trade Center, whether he's giving the Wu hand, that's another persona he's giving off, and then even like the somber, we're sitting on the edge looking down, like the Bruce Wayne kind of look, like you almost expect the Batman thing to be up behind him, but you got the World Trade Center. So he theatrically speaking, like he gave a lot of different personality types to be explored, if you would, and that's just purely observation of him. And then the point when I realized recently actually of his genius was in 1995. 1996 he had gone to jail for whatever reason and came back, and then the day that he came back from jail in 1996 he came to a Roots show at Irving Plaza, and then that was when he started to launch the Old Dirty Bastard Osiris, or Old Cyrus, whatever, Old Dirty Bastard Osiris. That was this version of him.
Right.
And he was giving off a completely different character, like he's seriously crazy and like manic. And I remember at the show, like him being super loud and being vulgar and being that. And I'm just like, this brother's crazy. Like he's really out there, and I just wanted to stay away from him. And one part of the night we're in the back area coming from the green room or dressing room towards the stage, and I'm just standing in this hallway and I hear him coming up and I'm like, oh shit, he's coming my way. Like I didn't know what to expect. And then I just tried to ignore him, and all of a sudden he walks up to me. It's like, hey, how you doing? How's your cousin? I'm like, me? He's like, yeah. I was like, I ain't got no cousin. He's like, your cousin, we shot up on her roof. I was like, oh, my cousin Aida. I was like, she's good. And we just started having a genuine conversation. And then he hears someone coming up the hallway and he clicks out. He goes, yeah, and walks off. I'm like, the fuck was that? The fuck? But what it was, in hindsight and understanding as I talk more and more about him, he was studying a new character, you know, so Osiris was even more extreme than Old Dirty Bastard, you know what I mean? So for anyone to see him breaking character, he couldn't do that, you know what I mean? That's what it was that he was doing, was practicing the character of a crazier person.
Wow,
You know?
that is crazy, but it's amazing at the same time, right? In other words, he saw you, there was a gap between the last time he saw you and he saw you at that moment, and it just like, probably without him even realizing, clicked him back to, what do you want to say, his normal self, kind of?
Right. But the thing about it is, like, Busta Rhymes talks on Drink Champs about the actual genius that is Old Dirty Bastard. Right. And Busta Rhymes, I'm paraphrasing, you can find it, where he says, you know, a smart motherfucker can act like a crazy man, but a crazy man can't be a smart motherfucker.
Smart. Yeah. I saw that.
I mean, his level of genius. But yeah, you can find that on the Drink Champs podcast, where I'm paraphrasing it from. But it was just like, now looking back, I'm like, oh, and if like he's doing part of when I photographed him in 1995, you can see almost like a Charlie Chaplin version. Then you can see this kind of a version of her, that kind. There's so many character plays that I felt like he was feeling out depending on what the situation was, you know. And I gave him enough space where I'm not directing him and saying, okay, you're gonna be Old Dirty Bastards. We're gonna make your house look like a fucking junkyard. Put you in trash. We want you to grab your balls and hold a 40 and say, smile, nigga, smile, nigga. You know what I mean? There's so often times where character types, and it does detriment.
Yeah, I get it, man. That's it's a shame we tend to lose a lot of these artists, right? Like an Old Dirty Bastard, even going way back to the 70s. A lot of the greats that had these great minds, we always tend to lose them a little bit too soon, you know. MF Doom, for example. But man, it's a shame. What about Lauryn Hill? There's a mystique with Lauryn Hill. How was it shooting Lauryn Hill?
I mean, Lauryn, I met the Fugees initially in 93. So throughout 93, 94, 95, like I knew them over the years. And they, you know, from the point of when no one knew who the Fugees were, going to their live show, like they blew you away because they're fucking talented as hell. Lauryn, Wyclef Pross, they're just really nice people. Like they're very smart, they're all highly intelligent. So it was just being in their presence. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, just like, I can't say regular people because that doesn't give a description. It was, you didn't know, well, in hindsight, I approached them and worked with them or alongside them when I was able to capture them as such, to just watch and observe and not interfere, and having the right chemistry to be around, but not to interfere. So even, you know, for example, the picture of Lauryn Hill hallway, when she was directing Retrospect for Life for Common in Brooklyn, you know, the times when she wasn't behind the camera or directing or whatever, to be able to still be in her space when she needed a moment for her, to be able to still be within that space and capture her, like it's honorable to have even done that, you know, and her comfort level, I guess around me, if you would, like it shows in the pictures captured, and also seeing your peers in many ways developing their career. So for example, when Lauryn directed Retrospect for Life, this was her first directorial debut, you know, as a director. Right before that, that was in 97. So late fall, winter, it was fall, winter 96. Lauryn had just finished working with Clive Davis and Aretha Franklin for A Rose is a Rose. So she was at the point where she was really starting to amp up and really develop her career. So seeing the transition of just being an artist, and now you're writing songs, you're producing music for Aretha Franklin, you know, you're directing videos, like she's on track, boom, boom. And she did it, and she's still doing it, you know what I mean? And like, even when she wanted to take a step away from the music industry, and the music industry's like, how dare you, now we're going to call you crazy, or now we're going to call you this name. fuck all that shit.
Mhm.
Fuck all that shit. 10 million albums later. You know what I mean? Like, I need to take care of my family. I've given this music industry thing so much of me. I'm giving something back now, you know, and that's what she needed the time for her and her family. And now she's given herself time. Her kids are starting to grow and have their own careers, you know, and now she's ready to take the second wave of her career or third wave of her career, whatever that this iteration of it is. And I stand and applaud her, you know, because there's not that many women that are of such reverence and demand such respect. And should be demanded, like should be given such respect, because you made it through the 90s, you know, as a woman. Period.
that alone, that alone is
that's it. And
amazing.
And it's interesting because somewhere on my T.Eric IGTV, one of the first things I ever posted was DMC from Run DMC, and he's looking through volume 1, and he talks about how Lauryn Hill's one of the top 5 rappers ever, not women rappers, just one of the 5 best rappers, period, along with Andre 3000. Like, they never put out anything whack. Never. Like, you can call, I know what people would say, oh, this performance wasn't, but if you gave that performance that people want to talk negatively about, take it from an open heart perspective on what she was going through. You know, she's pouring it out there to let it go, release it, because someone else out there can relate to it. You know, it's not going to sell sexy, sexy, sexy. Fuck all that. I'm a fucking goddess of a woman. You know what I mean? Like, I just created children. Like, I have a family. Now I'm taking care of my parents and my grandparents. Like, she was the center of, or she still is the center of multi-layers of her family, you know, and just, you got to respect that shit, because she's showing others how you can also do it.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And I don't think that the average fan, right? I'm just going to say fan, someone that just likes the music, but doesn't or never was involved in the culture, right? Meaning they've never been around an artist. They've never been in that world. They don't understand that. They don't understand. They're just looking at it as a fan. They like the music. I want more. Or you're doing something else. That's it. We're about to destroy you. Right.
Yeah.
And that's it. Oh, you abandoned us.
Right.
Forget your family, your kids, or whatever it is, your personal stuff. You abandoned us. We're destroying you.
Yeah.
They don't. Not too many understand that.
No.
But man, that's amazing, man. You've had the pleasure of shooting a lot of great artists and people. One day I saw on Instagram, I want to say it was around, I believe it was Big Pun's birthday, and his son, made a post about it, whatever, and you shared a picture of Big Pun with his son, very little at the time, sitting on the steps. It looked like it was
their house,
in front of their house. First of all, how was that photo shoot? And second, how cool is it that you were able to capture that, see his son now grown in the hip hop world, doing what he's doing, and be able to share that picture though, you know, now? Like, how is, just walk me through that.
I mean, for the part of the afternoon when we were, it was me, Fat Joe, Big Pun, Angie Martinez, in their car. I think one of my neighbors who was with me was driving in my car following. I'm rewinding the story in my head. So part of the afternoon was a segment of a music video channel that used to be called The Box video channel. And they'll feature an artist and they'll go around somewhere relevant or important in their neighborhood or within their career. So at this point, I think they were focusing on Fat Joe because the Don Carter Gina album was about to come out. So Joe, Pun, and Angie hung out for part of the afternoon at a place where the Tats crew had just made a mural for Fat Joe, and it wasn't too far from Pun's house. So after we shot some stuff near the big mural, we went back to Pun's house. And then at that time, I forgot why we went back to Pun's house, but we just went back there, and it was just a very just simple vibe of like Pun, Angie, and Joe. And then when we got there, it was probably like 10 of us total, between who was shooting and just Joe and Pun's crew, if you would. Not even crew, just their clique, their crew. So for me, I was just sort of just walking around watching Pun, literally just watching him. Not so much Fat Joe, but literally just observing Pun, and then Chris came out initially, came out to the edge of the street to hug his father's leg, if you would. And then he ran back in the house. And then I sort of just followed Pun from the side of the house to the front of the house. And I'm just, not that I'm in his face, but just observing his space. And then I believe his wife hands him the house phone, the wireless house phone. I don't know if he was to make a call or someone was calling him, but there's, Pun was on the phone, literally on the corner. And like, there's an expression from the same series. Once in a while, I'll show it. I'll show it again sometime, where he's sort of looking into the phone, and it's sort of like that kind of sigh or whatever. Then a moment or so later, Christopher comes out the front door or whatever, and he sits next to him with the Godfather hat. And he's like just sitting patiently. And then Pun's on the phone. And then he finishes the call, whatever. And then I don't know if he put it down or whatever. And then there's a moment I need to share where Pun looks over at his son, and then I didn't get necessarily the pause moment, but he looks over at his son, and then the next moment he leans over and kisses him. You know what I mean? And that shot I need to share because it's a very good sequence of just a genuine patient moment. Like love is patient, you know what I mean? So just sharing that, and then even recently sharing from the same series when Liza, Pun's wife, comes out of this, in the house, past the screen door, Christopher goes back in, and she just sits down next to him, and then from there, they're just like a quiet moment. Then Christopher comes into the screen. You can actually see this on my T.Eric Instagram. And Christopher comes right into the screen. And it's almost like in a shadow, but it's such a real moment because Pun's shoulders are dropped, and he's just like,
it's just a normal moment.
Sitting next to him, and like you can see the weight of the world on his shoulders. Like, I still got to keep pushing us forward, and like just the look in all three of their expressions. And then even Liza commented like, "This is such a real moment," and it's just like in hindsight of capturing, it was just, again, following, observing, and just being patient, and boom, oh my, boom. And then you just wait, because they didn't say, hey, let's have a cheery family. Nah, it was just observing what was.
It was just a natural moment. Yeah. Like he just, for that moment, he let everything go and just enjoyed that family time, or that that's really cool. That's nice. So let's bring it forward a little bit more now. Let's talk about some of the things that you're doing now. I know you have your online gallery for one, right? The Broaden Exposure. People can check that out, right? It's broadenexposure.com.
That is correct.
You have that going on. Also, the Trops Gallery. Is that something that's happening still right now?
Yeah, my business partner, Nora, she's actually, running with the Trops. She now has it in Brooklyn. She's doing, I forgot the name of it. She's doing another show right now. So my involvement is not this iteration of it day-to-day like it was last year. It's more of an investment perspective of just helping it get up and helping it see its vision initially. And then wherever, she takes it, that's where the Trops goes. And I mean, she's very focused, and, we did some amazing programming and exhibitions this summer from May 18th to July 31st. We did, I think about 4 or 5 different shows. We did a big, amazing graffiti mural painting around where the gallery was in First Street Green Park. And then we ended it off with the Ladies of Hip Hop, breakdance championship, in our alleyway next to our building. That was just breathtaking. Like these women had such an amazing day, and the vibe, the beauty, and the dancing and the competition was next level. Like it would just touch your heart, like how beautiful of a day it was. And like that was the final event that we needed, just to kick things to the next level. And then literally, July 31st, New York changes again. They change all the laws.
Yeah.
You can't do this. Given the opportunity window of really just do it nonstop, do, and we did it, and thank goodness, it captured a good percentage of it, video wise. So there's a catalog of just video footage, photos of, the summer of the Trops, that tells its own story.
Gotcha. So talk to us a little bit about Broaden Exposure. So what is that all about? I mean, I know people can go and check it out for themselves, but give us a little idea.
Sure. Broaden Exposure is my it's my fine art collection, my fine art work. So there's moments that throughout all the different pictures all the different moments that I've captured over time, there's certain ones that really have an essence to them that I bring to fine art standards, so it can stand the test of time in a gallery. So this is my first collection of 15 pieces that are really a starting point, showing the era of what the 90s was about, sort of an outline perspective of what potentially more I have to share with you or just share period with people on a fine art level of really looking at 90s hip hop. So it's not just a typical thought of what 90s hip hop is about. I'm giving you an artistic stare into the lens of 90s hip hop in a fine art fashion. And I'm not doing it I'm doing it in a natural, classic way to show that it can stand next to a John Lennon photo.
Right. I visit the site. Really nice. I like the way you have it all put together. I love the virtual gallery that you can kind of walk through on. I recommend everybody to please take a look at the site, broadenexposure.com. A lot of great work on there. And like I said, the online gallery is super cool. You get to walk through and see, like, it's like your photos on the wall, right? Like,
right, exactly.
Yeah, it's really cool. And what else? Stay Up Gallery on Instagram.
Yes.
What is that all about?
So the Stay Up Gallery at Marion Pub, it's a gallery inside of a pub on 95th and 2nd Avenue in the Upper East Side of New York. So I'm in a combined exhibition right now with VMix, JT Liss, and another artist, Ill Concepts. And we have our work there, on display, but it's also for sale. So it gives people a nice mix of someone like VMix who takes two different pictures and he'll, put Betty Wright with Eazy-E, and you think it's a real picture. Like, that's how dope he is in the game. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And, like, he's just an amazing artist, as is JT Liss and Ill Concepts. They're all visually, like very visually stunning in storytelling. So that's up until holiday 2021. But we're doing a refresh. I think it's going to be either November 4th or November 11th. I'll let you know, where I'm going to put up a brand new set of images on the wall within my space. Well, I'll just show even more images, because, for example, now when you go in there, you'll see stuff of the Roots. You'll see shots of Tupac, the Biggie and Tupac picture, Big Pun and their family moment that I was just referring to, and you can see quite a few other moments that you may or may not have seen on Instagram. So that's the good part about showing in the Upper East Side. And then also in the Lower East Side, as a part of the Broaden Exposure collection, we have the LES Art Tour. So in 5 locations around the Lower East Side, you can go and see, the fine art prints. If you go to Privilege on Essex Street, there's a picture of Mos Def, Talib Kweli. There's the Tupac Blunt Dry, Nas Tall and Strong, and then also Grew at the Soundboard. If you go over a couple blocks over to Lambs on Orchard Street, there's the 40 by 60 of Little Kim and Missy Elliott in there. If you go over a little bit more west on Rivington to the Hideout Chai Bar, there's Old Dirty Bastard and Erykah Badu in there. If you come up a little bit on Stanton Street to the Bowery Showroom, there's RZA, there's Big Pun and Son, there's Parliament Funkadelic, Raekwon and Ghostface chillin', and RZA with the Rings in that spot. So it gives you, and then also Frank's Chop Shop, there's a big one of Big Pun and Son in the barbershop. So it allows you to visit all these cool, and I forgot, we were just talking about it. Shit. If you go also to Hotel Indigo, which is across the street from Sweet Chick, when you walk in the lobby, we have Lauryn Hill right in the lobby of Hotel Indigo, Wow. So it's like, it gives you a nice walking tour of all the dope spots. And then also in the top of Hotel Indigo on the 15th floor is Mr. Purple. So that's a whole different culture mix, but it gives you a walking tour of the Lower East Side of some really amazing places to check out. And then also you get to meet a lot of new young creatives in the space that are really making stuff happen.
Wow, man, that's awesome, man. I got to make sure to get out there and check all of this out. I've been very hesitant with everything happening with the.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm not, but I'm definitely going to check these spots out. You just mentioned something, Biggie and Tupac, a picture with both of them.
Yes.
There's not too much of that around, and you did have the chance to take a shot with both of them in it. Where was that, if you remember? And just, was that by accident, or was it, how did that come about? How did you capture that?
It was in 1993. I can't remember the name of the venue. I think it was the Ritz, actually. The Ritz is popping in my head. The Ritz isn't here anymore. It was somewhere in Midtown. So I was there. I was at the Ritz, photographing and interviewing Onyx. And this is when they had the song Slam out, and it was just big hit. And they were opening up for Public Enemy and Ice-T. Onyx was. So I got there early. Onyx and I were, on the stage shooting pre-show. And, I got a bunch of great stuff because Onyx just they're used to working each other. It's like 4 guys, so you have to know how to blow, ebb and flow. So I got some great stuff for them. I'm finishing up, and then as I'm finishing up, I hear across the stage or wherever, not too far from me, someone yell, "Yo, come take our picture." And I just waves, yeah, sure, because I didn't know the difference. I'm like, what? Okay, that was just as simple as, yeah, sure. So I got my stuff together, walked over to them, and I looked at them, and I just made sure they were in focus, or just they were right there. And I looked again, and then because it's film, took one picture and said thank you, and then I went to Onyx's dressing room. At the moment of the time, I didn't know who I was capturing. I just took their picture. I remember when I got the slides developed, I knew that it was Tupac because I wrote the name Tupac on the slide, but I think it's a Tupac middle finger. But back then, magazines weren't going to run a middle finger. I don't care who it was. So it just goes in the bottom of the pile because you can't publish a middle finger back then because there's no web to share it with. Mm-hmm. So for years and years, it just was in a container with other slides. Fast forward to 2012, 2012-ish. I'm going through a bunch of slides as I'm starting to catalog stuff, and I remember looking at the specific slides, the Tupac middle finger, and I remember as I'm looking into it, like really staring into it, I start laughing, and I'm like, nah, and I look again, and I realize it's Biggie, Tupac, and Little C's wearing "I'm a Bad Boy" shirt. And the only thing you can do at that point is start laughing, because it's just like, who knew that you had that shit? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. I'm joyous to know that I had it. And the fact that we're all wearing "I'm a Bad Boy" shirt shows their friendship. And, a few years ago, I ran into Little Caesar and we talked about, that picture of that particular date, which also was on my IG Reels, I believe, where Little Caesar talks about being in the club with Biggie and Pac and him being 13 years old at the club with them. 13. Yeah, wow. Man. It's 10 o'clock. Where's your child at?
Yeah.
Up in the club at 13.
That's great, man. But that's what makes that so much more like the value of that simple picture, right? It's just the fact that you didn't even know. The fact that you just kind of took it on a humble, for one, shows how cool you are. But man, that's crazy. That's amazing. Yeah. And then also,
I'm grateful that Caesar.
But I'm just saying the fact that you had it on a slide. So it's not like you developed it and you have a picture that you could see clearly. I mean, you had to specifically look at that slide with the light.
Right.
I don't know if you use like the light table or
I got a light box. Yeah.
Light box.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
And also, one interesting thing about slide film is, with slide film, you use it for 2 reasons. One, well, back then, you use it because it was fast turnaround, meaning that you could shoot something and within 2 hours, the photo lab can have it developed, but it's only this one square that you can't change. It's a permanent image. So your focus and knowledge of light, calculation, symmetry, it all has to click because you only get one shot, one chance and a shot to fix it. With film, you can fix it in the dark, and you can get it lighter, darker, dodge, burn. You can do all these tools. With the slide, it's just that moment that you capture, and that's it.
Right.
So it has to be right on.
I have my father, when he was in college, he dabbled in photography. So I have a book of slides that he had of pictures that he took. So recently, maybe about a year ago, my mother found there's I don't even know what to call it, but you can put the slide into this little machine and then connect it to your
projector with a little reel.
Well, no, it's to transfer the picture to like your laptop. So you put it in the machine and hook it up to like USB. So now I'm able to, transfer his slides and appreciate the pictures that he took. And since we're talking about photography, this is like, I'm talking about early 80s, 80, 81, 82. He had his own darkroom. So I was able to experience going into the darkroom as a little kid, 6th grade, I don't even remember, something like that. And going through the whole process, the film through you had the 3 different chemicals that you had to develop. Man.
Yep.
So it's I got to experience a little bit, as far as photography goes, and he had cameras. That's why I asked you about, purchasing cameras at that time, because it wasn't just laying around. It's a very interesting and very cool, avenue to be in the photography world.
Absolutely.
So talking about all this old technology, right? Developing films and slides.
Right.
Are you involved in the NFT world?
I am entering the NFT world. I don't know what I can say just yet. I My goal date to release my first collection of NFTs tentatively is November 4th on OpenSea. Um, yeah, I'm excited about the whole NFT space because I've been getting a lot of amazing education, not just on NFTs but on blockchain, and just listening to a lot of different communities on Twitter Spaces that really talk about you, like your first introduction to NFTs and your nervousness and not knowing, and having so many people that are around you who want to help you to understand NFTs and help you to understand the value of being creative, and then also, for me personally, bringing this 90s hip hop into the digital realm, the digital space of people really wanting to collect and make this art a part of their digital world, because that's how things are transitioning. And like the more and more you understand where technology is, technology is transitioning into, that you're not only just putting an NFT in your digital wallet or your digital gallery, but now you can bring it into, the gaming world is about to open up to it. You know what I mean? So there's all these different places where your digital art can live, and like, it's amazing, that people want this, not so much, it's amazing that these avenues are opening up. And the more you're open yourself to open your archives, to allow people to share in this rich history of 90s hip hop culture, but also I have skateboarding culture that they can share in. I have video contest footage of the years I was doing skateboarding events that have to be digitized, and that's shareable on YouTube. And just, it's a whole sharing, giving back process of everything that I went through in order to capture moments, or even involving into creating amateur skateboard league, and be mindful to document it every week that we were doing events, and having all the videotapes of all the kids. Because there's even a kid that was in my league that actually skated in the Olympics this year, but he was, as a teenager, he skated in my league. Yeah. So you don't know, how what you do to give back affects others later, so
right.
It's like moments like that. And then also to give back to me, it's like, as you build your friendships over the year and your networks over the year, you never know who's going to reach out to you to do the next thing for someone. An example of that is, back in 1988, I met this pro skater back then, who skated for Pal Pro, to Per Willander. Me and him met in Jersey when he was doing a demo here. We just clicked it as friends, and just became safe friends. And then he came out here later again in '88 for a Swatch watch event. And then he just networked me with a bunch of cats. Moved forward to 91 when everyone left Pal and everybody started doing their own independence, like Tony Hawk and Per started Birdhouse. And then, years later, after I was doing photography, Per and I still stayed in touch. We were still friends. After I left photography to do amateur skating, Per and Birdhouse were one of the first companies to get behind me and start sending me stuff and really supporting my amateur leagues. Then by, what year was that? Oh, by 1999, I had my first contract with Activision, because they had the Tony Hawk Pro Skater and they had Wu-Tang Shaolin Styles, but they needed someone to help do the grassroots marketing of these new video games that they wanted people to try out. So my first two video game titles to manage and really put on the road were Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Wu-Tang Shaolin Style video games. So it was like the perfect marriage. And then from there, like, I had contracts with Activision for the next 3 years after that. So Tony Hawk 1 to 4, plus all the action sports video games that came out. So that was an easy piggyback when I was doing the networking of Echo into all these other action sports avenues, because I was already there.
That's
so in the digital world, it's like sharing these kind of stories and moments.
Right. I'm still learning about NFTs. I want to learn more about it and how it works exactly. But so it's safe to say that you will have something, right? I don't know. We can't disclose too much, but you're gonna have some of your work, or something is going to be in the
some parts of my work. Yeah, like, because I'm going to get to the point where I'm just, as much as I can keep cataloging and scanning and getting it right, it serves to get it out in the sphere for people to fully enjoy. Like, yeah, you can purchase it, but finding ways like to share it on Instagram to make it valuable as art, where people are going to want to collect it and collect it and collect it. Because and the simplest example is, one of my earlier music videos that I did last year, he was just using my pictures with Raekwon and Ghostface. It's an 11-second video, but it's just like frame by frame by frame, lined up to music, and it's just timing. But each frame could be an NFT. And then if you put all the frames together, you buy all 11 frames, whatever it is, boom, you make your music video, and then I send you something extra to go with it, that makes it either can morph into something else, or because I'm giving it to you free, it has value by itself if you decide to sell it off.
So
But there's so many avenues, like the Source Award. Did you see the Source Awards video that I made?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, that's all single framed moments. You know what I mean? Like frame by frame, and then I just lined it up to the music. So every frame is a potential NFT depending on the quality and the relevance of it. So if I give you, whether it's 60 frames that might have made that Source Awards video, or 45 frames, whatever it is, but it was it's just timing and music. But I'm taking you through a story about the 1995 Source Awards in the meantime. You know what I mean? Because I can give it to you in writing, but are you going to listen to it? But if I give you visually and give you context of what it was like to be there, that makes it more interesting.
Wow, it's amazing that world has created such a huge amount of possibilities of what you can do with one, let's say with one photo, right?
Yes.
Or a series of that one photo.
Right.
But you can do so much with it. And then the cool thing that I know, for example, on the business end of it, if you sell, let's say one of your prints or something on the NFT,
right,
that person can sell it forward and you still get
residuals. Yes.
Man.
I'm grateful for that platform. I'm grateful for the shared possibilities, because having the way I look at it, I see it as not a giant mountain of photos still to scan or go through, but it's joyful to know that the work has a real purpose, and meaning that once I digitize the rest of my catalog over time, and I can get it out there and share it with people in a digital library where I can line it up with stories and essays where it lives on, and I'm doing video recordings of different moments, and I'll make more of those types of videos. But it just gives the body of work life, if you would, like 360, meaning I can talk about it, I'm writing about it in blogs, whatever that it is, just giving it life. So 100 years from now, if I want to learn about American classical music, it's going to be hip hop.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Well, that's great, man. I we talked about so much, and there's so much more that we could talk about. But before we go, I just wanted to show you this, and that way the people will know, right? Because you do have a series of books.
Yes.
Right. This is let's see, volume 1. Right. Let's see. I got volume 2.
Oh.
And volume 3.
Wow. Right? Yeah, it's funny. My business partner Nora, who's running the Trops now, she's the one that actually laid out and designed all the books. She was the spearhead and helping me understand like she really understands it, digital printing, and just it was such a learn to do the first book and then the second book, and by the third book we're already in gear. So by the time we're done the third book, we're already thinking about the fourth book, which is the gold book, the collector's edition gold book. And we did it. It's a labor of love, and it's out there, but it's a fine art book that we were able to complete.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I knew there was one more. I don't have that one. That one I don't have. Not yet.
Only 100 made.
Only 100 made? Oh, I gotta get one. So along with this, I just wanted to say thank you very much, because each one of these, like volume 1, 2, and 3, are signed by yourself. And you wrote something different in each one. And I want to give a big shout out to Doc Source, who was the person that sent me this as a gift for my birthday. Yes. So big shout out to you, Doc Source. Appreciate it. Who knew that something as simple as a gift like this would lead to me speaking to the gentleman, that we have today. So thank you very much. And again, I just want to say this to you once again on here. Doing research on you, once I received these books, I found out more about who you were. I wasn't aware to the magnitude of what you have done throughout your career in the skate world, hip hop, photography. And just so you know where I have you at on the list of importance, right? I have a book here by Jamal Shabazz.
Yes.
Right, back in the days.
Yes.
And one by Joe Conzo. Right, born in the Bronx.
Yes.
Both I had the pleasure of meeting. Both were able to sign the books for me, and I've always admired their work. So these books sit right next to those two gentlemen. So right now you are number 3 One, no particular category, right?
It's all love. We're all here
one
sharing
and one.
Yeah, we're all here sharing history.
But that's, you sit right there amongst what I had considered to be so, and there's others, right? I'm not mentioning, I'm forgetting Ernie and there's a whole bunch.
We're all friends, yeah.
Right. There's a list of other greats. But in my collection so far, that's who, you're right up there with them here. Just want to say, I appreciate your work. Thank you very much for taking the time and joining me today. It's a pleasure. I will continue to support you in anything that you have that you would like to promote or, just give light to. Please let me know. There's no need to ask. Just send it to me and we will post it, whether it's on Instagram or the website. And if you ever want to do this again for any, future projects, just let me know.
I mean, let's talk early November or late October. I think let's talk again, maybe late October, early November, because two things. One, by then I can talk more in depth about the NFT stuff.
Okay.
And then also we're doing a refresh for the Stay Up Gallery. It's either November 4th or November 11th. One of the two. I can't remember at the top of my head, but I'll let you know. I'll let you know ahead of time.
Okay, no problem. So everybody, once again, make sure you visit broadenexposure.com. Check out Stay Up Gallery on Instagram. It's at Stay Up Gallery. If you're in the city and you want to check out the Trops Gallery, please feel free and do so.
Yeah, the Trops is now in Brooklyn, but you can also check out my LES art tour where you can see my work at various stores throughout the Lower East Side.
Yes.
If you go to broadenexposure.com/LES.
Okay, sounds good. And they can follow you where?
At TDOTERIC, spelled out T.Eric TDOTERIC at Instagram. And that's also one of my other websites.
Okay, so make sure you do that. I knew you were going to be a cool person, very interesting person. We share the same name, so why wouldn't you be?
Exactly.
Right? So once again, listen, enjoy the rest of your time. Look forward to your future projects, and thank you once again.
No doubt. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man. Peace.
Peace.